Hey, oh yeah, hey, I'm live. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Turnout. I am your host Aloy. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when the Turnout puts out new videos and whatnot. So really fun things here to talk about with this newest episode. It was called "You Do You." I thought that was kind of clever based on the context of the episode. But basically this is going to be my weekly kind of live stream. I decided that this would be what we would start doing going forward. And 1:30 on a Monday seems to work out pretty good. I mean, it does for me. I don't know. Hopefully it works out great for your guys' schedule as well. But I watched it last night and I watched it again this morning just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. But this fifth episode was good. I felt, and I didn't look at the credits, but I feel like this episode was written like at the same time as the last one and not in succession, probably by a completely different person. Hello to David and Nancy who are here. Also Christian and Davey and Ruth who kind of were already in the chat before we even showed up. Uh, but yeah, there was a little bit of weird kind of inconsistencies with this, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But I thought that it was kind of interesting. Uh, Things that I felt were already kind of established by episode 4 seemed like they were finding it out brand new in episode 5, which it was a little odd, but uh, I think that's really just for people like us who are like paying super like close attention to it. So let's just go through the recap. So it opens at a gas station. There's like a dude. He goes in for snacks for his girlfriend. It's wonderful. Some other guy, long blonde hair and whatnot, with glowy eyes, walks up to the woman, starts whispering some stuff, and she becomes entranced and runs her boyfriend over. And that's essentially the setup, which I thought was pretty strong. Uh, and then like that's the setup. That's the bad guy setup. So then we get to the sisters. So Maggie gets a little montage at the beginning, which I kind of dug actually. She is doing some hip hop dancing while she's through some issues that she's having with studying, and it's not going all that well. But I liked this montage kind of formatting. I thought that it was a good way to kind of concisely say things. And again, show don't tell. They didn't tell us that she's having issues. They showed us that she's having issues. And not only in her dance, or not only in her study, but also it looked like it was almost like she was just slightly off from the rest of the dancers. So it was almost like her worrying about school was making her not dance as good. And her dancing was kind of helping her get through her studies, but not all that much. So neither was really jiving. But I thought that was really, I thought it was good. She was dancing. She was dancing up a storm. Hello to Chrismo 98. Hello. So anyway, then we get to, let's see, Macy and Harry. They're doing sleuth work. Trying to find connections to prehistoric drawings and trying to obviously, they're trying to make each other feel better about the fact that they have to, essentially, they have to essentially try and decipher a language that no longer exists. So there's that. Mel shares with everybody that she's got a bunch of videos of like people hitting other people with cars and like crazy, like hurting the people they love. And it's like, oh man, that's crazy. Then, and it becomes a hashtag crazy car lady because apparently all of them hit people with cars. I thought that maybe since it was the instruction from the demon was show me your love, or I want to see how much you love me. You would think that cars wasn't like going to just be the first, just the first thing that they come up with. Anyway, we hadn't even gotten to that. I'm so sorry. So the doorbell rings and Julian's lawyer says that he has given SafeSpace to Macy. And I was like, okay. And I kind of talked about that with Kristen last week. I'm like, when did Julian have the time between like regaining trust for the sisters and like the 6 hours before he died? It seemed very weird that it got inherited, but also he might just be the kind of person who is just like, you know what? I know I'm going into this and I'm gonna die. It didn't seem like he knew he was gonna die, but he was like, I might die and I want to make sure it gets in the better hands. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can see that. Also, I think at that point, no, I was gonna say, yeah, because I wasn't sure at that point, did Jordan know, not Jordan, did Julian know anything about the command center? And that would be why he would want to give SafeSpace so that they have access. Because that's the best thing, is that having SafeSpace be theirs allows them to you have unfettered access to the command center. So that's the great thing. I assume that's what the writers are doing. But again, a 6-hour difference, and he, immediately changed his mind and all that stuff. It's one of those. Yeah, I see, Chrismo. Yeah, it's kind of a plot hole, but it's also, I think it's an acceptable plot hole. I'm okay with this one. I'm not going to berate it, but I'm okay with it. Hello to Dicidus, who just showed up. So anyway, yeah. So she gets it's going to be inherited to her. She has to sign papers, so it's not technically hers yet. So Swan, the first thing I was thinking was, that means we get to keep Swan around, because I always thought she was so adorable and I really wanted her to stick around. And I was like, you know what she should just do, because it looks like Macy wasn't very much interested in actually owning SafeSpace. I was like, well, then you don't have to. Well, then you can still own it, wonder and whatnot, and then just say, you know what, though, I'm not going to run things. Swan, you love this place a ton. You just go be the general manager. Like, you just, what is it called? The operations manager. You get to be in charge of everything. And as long as like nothing needs, if you need money decisions made or whatever, or larger decisions made, come ask me. But otherwise, I'm a scientist and I have my own stuff to do. So I don't want to run SafeSpace. You do, because you love it. Anyway, that was the very first thought that I had was, well, then that's great. Well, then she can just have Swan run it. Swan gets to hang out, and then it would be awesome. That is not what happens, sadly. But also, what I do want to point out is that Mel and Macy are spending a lot of time in this episode together. That was actually a thing that myself and Maria over at Approach to the Nerd have been talking about a lot. Is that those two sisters seem like they rarely shared screen time. And in this episode, it was almost like they were inseparable. I mean, obviously, they could only get within a certain amount of space between each other, but they literally were like together all the time, having tons of conversations. So I actually really did dig that. There was a lot of sisterly togetherness in this episode. It wasn't like a lot of episodes where everybody goes off in their own directions. This one was like, they're all three together, then one goes away and then comes back, and then one goes away and comes back. It was fine. I don't know. It seemed like there's still too many storylines going on for it to seem logical for just one of them to go and then come back, and then another one to go and then come back, and another one to go and then come back. Essentially, they need to start kind of consolidating some of these storylines. But anyway, so Jordan and Harry, they bond a bit as they're prepping to check out this prehistoric site, and their storyline is a little bit on the side. So let me just sum that one up real quick. They're both feeling insecure. Harry is feeling insecure because he's older and he's dating a younger woman, and they keep mentioning it. Like, people keep kind of poking him about it. He's a relic. He's old. You must know about this stuff because you're so old. Yeah, oh, you got better check up on these things because you're dating a younger woman. So he's feeling insecure about being old. And Jordan, who is, an ex-vet who, not ex-vet, I guess vet. Just vet means that you were ex whatever. So anyway, so Jordan is a vet who has had to work for everything he's ever had, and now that he's a law clerk, which is awesome, now they're kind of trying to push him into assimilating, essentially. So he's like, I need to know how to tie this tie because I need to dress up and I need to fit in. And I thought that yes, Erica just said it. It was a very good bromance. I liked the combination of the two of them. They seem to jive off of each other, and the fact that they can actually engage and not like be in trouble if they get too close to each other. I dug that. So they go to the site because of obviously Harry can teleport, and they find a symbol at this prehistoric site. But Harry springs a trap. He gets hit with a prehistoric arrow, and then they zap away. Jordan patches him up, and then obviously the first thing I thought was like, how come he can't? I didn't know that White Lighters couldn't heal themselves. I think that was a weird one for me. I didn't know that that was a thing. Uh, I didn't know that they couldn't heal themselves. But I mean, if that's the case, then okay. I mean, that's fine. And that's why Jordan's there. Jordan heals the healer. Jordan, that's what he's there. That's what he's there for. Jordan's so cool. Um, and then they kind of, pat each other on the back and they're like, yeah, you guys rock. We rock as dudes who are kind of out of place because we're not witches, but it works out, so yeah. So anyway, that's their little side story, and I don't have to talk about them anymore. So Mel, so here's the thing. I immediately thought when Mel gets a text from the dean, and she's like, oh, I need to go see the dean. It's probably about me, the book, and I'm going to get in trouble and I'm going to get fired. And I'm like, you're not going to get fired. It's all you have to do is assign it as extra credit, and then there's not going to be a problem. And then she went in and she said, I'm assigning it as extra credit. And she's like, so it shouldn't be a problem. And I was like, bravo. That's the excuse. That's what you're supposed to say. Then the dean's like, well, but you should use this book instead because I wrote it. And I'm just like, oh God, it's probably the worst book ever. And then a few scenes later, we find out it's an outdated book with lots of dumb views and whatnot. So she ends up saying no. So yay, there you go. But they kept building it up the whole episode that like, I can't say no to the dean. I might get fired. But like, didn't the dean just tell you no to the book being added to the curriculum in the first place? And then you went against that. So like, you seem to be a rebel. Don't be scared of being a rebel. If you're going to do it, just do it. And I was like, she's not going to fire you. She would just say, take the book back, or you're not allowed to teach the book. Like, you're not going to get fired 2 weeks into the new year for something like that. Like, come on, at least there has to be a 3 strikes and you're out rule for this sort of thing. She doesn't have tenure, so that is a thing. But still, I'm just saying, it just seemed like an odd. It seemed like false stakes. It felt like they're like, she's so worried she's going to get fired, but there's like zero reason why, in a reasonable world, in a logical world, that she would get fired for that sort of thing. So it just seemed very odd to me. So anyway, I didn't dig those stakes. Before we get to like the main story, Maggie can't come up. I guess I'm going to do all the individual storylines here. Maggie can't come up with her psychology thesis for her essay that they have to write up. And okay, so here's what happens. So she's like sitting there stressed out, and Antonio comes up and goes, "Everything cool? Are you okay?" And she's just like, "Oh, I just, I can't come up with a subject." And he's just like, "Oh, well, maybe you should, do this, because, he uses a bunch of jargonese. He speaks jargonese. I don't know the jargon, but like, then she's just like, ugh. And I'm like, what? He's smiling. He seems like he's trying to be helpful. And again, it's like, everybody seems like they're making Antonio the bad guy here. He's not the bad guy. He knows more. He's more engaged with the subject matter. And they even address it later on. It's like, I feel like he knows exactly what he wants and he's going for it. Whereas Maggie she doesn't know. She doesn't know what she wants. So it just seems odd again, to keep trying to paint him as the bad guy. So here's the thing is there's a scene with Maggie and Macy later where Maggie's just like, I can't come up with a thesis topic. And of course, Antonio already has it. And I'm like, oh God. And then Macy, of course, being the good sister she is, she comes to Maggie's defense and says, don't let him get under your skin, girl. And I'm like, but he wasn't trying to get under her skin. He was just saying, oh, well, I'm doing it on this and this and this and this. A lot of the time, if some people tell me that they have an issue coming up with an idea, I will give them an example of like what I chose. And maybe that might give them inspiration. Like, it doesn't have to be as competitive as what Maggie is making it. But I mean, no harm on, I'm not saying like Macy was wrong to do that. If my brother came home and he was like, oh man, this guy at work is just, I'd be like, man, that guy sucks. I mean, because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm just saying that, I don't know. I like Antonio. He's fine. Okay, so let's see. And then who else had a storyline? Did Macy even have a storyline? Oh yeah, Macy was the SafeSpace storyline, and then we'll jump into the demon. So Macy's storyline is that she got SafeSpace, and she's like, I don't want to do SafeSpace, and then like she's like, I've owned it for 4 hours and I already want to sell it. That was a good line. And Swan keeps like emailing her of things that she can do, and then like she's like, Swan, no, I don't have time for this. I have way more interesting things. And Swan's like, well, then don't be the boss then. I was like, bravo, Swan. You tell her. And then, right when she was about to go and like, well, then she goes and signs the papers. And then she has a meeting with Swan. And I'm like, oh man, that's so great. She's going to like make Swan the operational manager. And she's just like, so tell me more about these different stores that we need. And I'm like, oh, she is going to try and run it. Why don't you just let Swan do it? Swan cares way more about it than you do. Anyway, so she is gonna go ahead. She makes the decision at the end to go ahead and run and do SafeSpace. So there you go. Jordan ends up not doing his tie because he decides he doesn't need to fit in. So I thought that was a fun ending. And then, funny enough, Harry did not get an epilogue to his story, which was kind of sad. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about the demon. So this demon, its name is Oman, and basically it is the demon who was based on Narcissus of Greek legend, who was, from narcissism, cares about a lot about himself, and his whole thing is that he says mepte ama, which means like show me your love or whatever. And basically people will murder the people they love for him. So I thought this was actually kind of an interesting kind of concept. Like, he's not necessarily doing the bad things. He's just out there making people do bad things, which is obviously bad. So so I thought that was really kind of cool. And what it did is it also allowed for Maggie to really shine in this episode in terms of using her empathic abilities. And because what ends up happening is they go to the scene of the crime, the first crime where the lady hit the dude at the very beginning, and she uses her premonition powers for them to go and find her. They bring her back to the command center, and she uses dance. She gets an empathic connection to the girl, and then she uses dance and weird movements and stuff to snap her out of it. And I thought that was really cool. And then it makes sense that at the end, she decides to do her paper on, what is it called? It's a mouthful. The effectiveness of movement therapy in the treatment of adults suffering from trauma. And I was like, wow, that's a mouthful. But so they end up, so she ends up doing the whole dance, knocking some sense into this lady Julie, and then Oman, who's just like, ooh, I sense that I no longer have control of this person. He comes after them, actually uses his power on Macy, and Macy starts using her telekinesis to basically about to push her sisters over because they were on the roof, over the roof, off the roof. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is high stakes. But they were able to get her to snap out of it because they got her to say her name. I liked actually the cutting back and forth between the reality and inside Macy's head where she felt trapped. I thought that was it was good, cinematography. It was well directed. And but they snap her out of it, and then they take the solution that they had created. Oh, I should probably talk about that. Narcissus was killed by Artemis, and Artemis's tree is the Yew tree. YEW, which is why it's called You Do You. It's even a line that Harry ends up saying, "You do you," and I'm like, oh my god. It was so not natural coming from Harry, because Jordan says it to Harry earlier. Anyway, so she turns it into a mirror, and the guy can't help but look in the mirror, and then he gets sucked into it. And I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. And it was a creative way to deal with the bad guy after Macy had dropped the solution that was going to be the vanquishing potion. They turned it into a mirror, and he kind of almost vanquished himself because he was obsessed with himself. So anyway, I thought that it was well done. But here's the problem, is that when they started looking into Oman, they're like, Julie wrote Oman. Harry walks in and he goes, well, it can't be Oman. And they're like, why? And he's just like, because he's a demon from pre-civilization and only mythical. And me as the viewer, I'm like, but we had already discovered that that's what's happening last episode. This is not new. We already know that that the symbol from last week was also connected to a pre-civilization demon and all of the, so this was already established. And so him coming in and being like, well, that's impossible because of the same thing that happened last week. I thought it was very silly. And that's again what I was saying. Like, I think maybe this episode was written at the same time as the last one. So, they both writers were like, I want to be the one to have the revelation in my episode. And they were like, no, we'll just do it in both. Nobody will notice except for dumb Aloy over at the Turnout. So anyway, uh, but anyway, this whole episode though was kind of about feeling insecure and needing to have more like pride in yourself. And I found it interesting that they were going up against a demon who is all about himself. So I thought that was actually really cool. That was a nice kind of almost Buffy-esque where, the bad guy of the episode is reflective of what's happening with them internally and their emotions and stuff. They kind of took a page from that. And they're like, everybody's feeling insecure. Well, they're going to fight a demon who is not insecure in the slightest and is completely obsessed with himself. So I thought that that was a really nice touch in general. I thought that that was really good. So yeah, let's see. Let me look at the rest of my notes here because I'm pretty sure that's most of it. Yeah, so Oman shows up and he's about to fight Julie and Mags, and then a commercial, like the eighth commercial break happened. I just wanted to note on that like the commercials are oh my god, so many commercials. I hate watching it on TV. I hate watching it on TV, and it's just as bad on the CW app. I'm just saying. So yeah, so then we get kind of so we get an epilogue now. So this is the second episode where we kind of have an epilogue at the end of the episode where all the sisters are kind of hanging out together. They didn't get to name the demon in this one because it already had a name. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I'm hoping that we go back and because I'd said in the last episode, I wanted it to be like at the end of every episode, they named the demon. And I thought that would be a fun kind of tie-in. This episode, there was already the name, but I'm hoping that a post-battle debrief will be part of the ongoing format of the show. All the stuff is happening, and at the end, the sisters come together and they kind of share their thoughts, like, what did we learn today? Special moment sort of thing. So hopefully they continue with that. I did like that in the last two episodes. And I like it when shows do that in general. And then right after they have that scene, we get Maggie returning to dance. We get Jordan, who's readying himself with a new look, but he leaves his tie behind because he doesn't have to fit in. Macy finds Swan and starts talking business with her, does not give her the operations manager title, which I totally think that she should have. Because you know what? That's the thing, right? Is that I agree with Macy. She has way more important things to deal with. That doesn't mean that SafeSpace isn't also important. So if SafeSpace is also important, then just put somebody who really cares about it in charge. And that'll be the last that I say about that. Mel tells the dean no, and she doesn't get fired because those were false stakes, and that was never going to happen anyway. There was a scene with Kevin, though, because Kevin comes and says, hey, thank you for assigning that book as extra credit because it's changing a lot of minds, and my roommate even apologized to me. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Great. I like it. And then no recap for Harry at the end. So there you go. But Harry does share that he wiped a couple of minds and of the couples who were, kind of entranced by Oman. And him and Macy go back to sleuthin'. So, I mean, that was pretty much the episode. Wow, that was a long one. And honestly, this one was a lot less straightforward, I think, than the last one. The last one was like, okay, cool, everybody's getting possessed. It's all kind of leading towards that final demon. This one seemed to go in so many different directions. And I think it's because they included more Jordan in this one because that split up the screen time a little bit more. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening going forward. I liked it though. I really dug this episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. And again, I liked the play on the theme of the episode of the, them not having any confidence in themselves. Like nobody had confidence in whatever was happening right now, which I think is a little on the nose where everybody's having the same issue. But I think it sells also the point that the demon that they're fighting is a narcissist. So let me go through some of these comments, and we'll see what you guys have been saying while I've been rambling. Let's see. So, especially inherit it to Macy Vaughn and not Flores. Well, that's true, unless I think that possibly, if we're gonna mess around with all the plot holes more, if we're messing with the plot holes, the fact that within the 6 hours between him learning the truth and him dying, he signed it over. There's nothing that would make us believe that she did not share her real name during like an off-screen conversation. I mean, it's plausible. I'm not gonna like stake my life on it or anything, but I'm fine. It is a plot hole, but it is what it is. Let's see. I thought that's what she would do at the end of the episode. I assume you mean give it to Swan, because yes, that would have been the correct response. Also, run it with what money? Well, I would assume that SafeSpace, because that's a good question as well. SafeSpace, I assume, as a business, comes with capital. So, like I have a business. If I sold my business, it would come with a certain amount of money so that it can continue its day-to-day operations. So I assume some money, and also, Julian was a multi-millionaire. I don't know if they said he was a billionaire, but I know that he at least had multi-millions. All right, let's see what the next one is, but good question. I thought she would pass it on to Swan. I'd like Macy to get back into science more. And it's not that she's not still doing a bunch of science stuff, which I think is great. Also, hello, David, by the way. My favorite commenter, just saying. And by the way, just anybody that we do have, the channel memberships are up if you want to hit join. It's underneath the video. There's also super chats and all that stuff. YouTube says I'm supposed to like remind during live streams that those things exist. They do help out the channel though, so there you go. Gotta love that Chasewood bromance. Nice to see Harry have a friend. I agree. I don't think that I don't think Harry needs to be part of any new names. I wouldn't mind seeing those two get a place together while they both can't be around. Oh, that would be so fun if but Harry doesn't have a job. Harry can't help pay rent, so that doesn't help. Now that I just think about it. But white lighters are also mortal in the reboot. I didn't know that. That's maybe something else. I know that since he's been disconnected from like the elders and like all that stuff, that could be why. All of that stuff, but I don't know. It seems like he shouldn't be able to get wounded. The Dean is sus. I agree. I think that's what's frustrating her. Antonio, I'm telling you, Antonio's trying to be nice, but she sees it as competition, and that can skew things. You haven't watched the episode yet. Sorry, Jackson. We're talking about it already. It came out last night. We gotta talk about it. Let's see. Oh, thank you, David. Again, my favorite commenter. Yeah, he was definitely an interesting opponent. Demon of this time. Not really sure what you mean by that. You really have that many commercials in the US? Yeah, there were like 8 different commercial breaks with anywhere from 2 to 4 commercials per break. So it was pretty excruciating to tell you the truth. It was pretty excruciating. Let's see. So just got here because I just finished the episode, and you ain't ever lied. I bought the season on Amazon Prime, but for some reason it wasn't uploaded yet. The CW was all ridiculous. Oh, I didn't know you could do that on Amazon Prime. Oh, that's cool. Well, welcome. I know that you showed up a little bit later. Hopefully I didn't ruin anything for you. He wiped the minds, but the video was supposed to be viral. Oh, wow, you're right. Mm. You're wow, good point. Like, you're right, because wiping the minds doesn't mean anything because it's on the internet. Wow, very good point. Oh my gosh. I like the demons. Let me see. I like the demons to look like demons. I was hoping all these ancient monsters would have cool designs. So this was disappointing. We didn't get that this week. You know what? I get that. I get that. I think in this case, I get in this case that, him looking like a normal person would give more credence to the idea that he was the foundation for the myth of, a Greek god who was always, Greek gods were always said to like run around with humans and stuff. So he could actually have a different form and he's just looking like a demon right now, or looking like a human right now. But I feel you. It would have been nice if he looked, a little bit demonier. Demonier. That's a weird word. Uh, let me see. I like how the name of this episode was very fitting. Yes, I agree. Did you talk about how even though they are cursed, apparently Harry and Jordan can touch without issues? Well, yes, because only the charmed ones are cursed. Harry and Jordan are not cursed. The charmed ones cannot touch each other or them, but they can touch each other just fine. Jordan was talking about his own curse when he was talking about the curse. His curse that he's going to die if he don't help out witches, which is weird. Oh, and that's a thing, honestly, and it was something I didn't mention, is that we just faced a demon who could control people and make them do things. And his eyes glowed yellow at first, and it seemed like it was red after that. But if you watch last episode, their eyes glowed yellow as when they were under mind control, when they were being like possessed by whatever. So my original thought was that it could have been Abby doing it, but what if it was this Oman who was controlling them to summon that other demon? I wonder. I don't know. It's just a thought. Who knows, really? Who knows? I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if I missed this part, but how was Maggie connected to that girl who was mimicking empathy? Well, yeah, her powers are empathic. But also, again, Abby, what that did was not only did she then connect empathically, but then every time she moved, Julie would move too. So she then started dancing, and she was kind of using it as a way to kind of break her out of it, because the thing about dancing is that you kind of let go of thought and you kind of just give in to the rhythm, and you respond more to that than to anything else that was happening in your mind. So I thought that was actually a really cool way for her to then come up with what her thesis was going to be, which was, the effectiveness of dance therapy, which, I mean, the effectiveness of dance therapy is a weird thing, because now I don't is there dance therapy, and if there is dance therapy, if that's even a thing, now it's not as if she knows about dance therapy. Like, she did it once, and I don't know, I think it's cool. We'll have to see what comes from it, though. Thank you also, David, for the super chat. I appreciate that quite a bit. Their female white lighter was killed in season 1. Well, that's true. They can be killed. Well, they can be killed, but it's different to say like I killed you than to say I harmed you. Because if I harmed you, then you should just be able to heal that. If I killed you, then yeah, if you are dead, then you cannot heal yourself because you're dead. But if you're still alive, but then I was like, well, maybe they're prehistoric, ancient demon arrows. So that could be it. Let's see. Let's see. So I'm confused. Doesn't Harry have the magical infection too? No, actually. That was what I had said at first, was right after the end of that episode, the 4 of them, like, they got close and then they expelled each other. And I was like, well, why would Harry have the same curse? He's not one of the charmed ones. And it turns out he's not. He just can't touch them. So he can touch everybody else, though. He's not affected by it. So yeah, so there you go. Hopefully confusion gone. Let's see. Ito, Approach the Nerd sent me here. Well, good. I noticed that I was going live and I noticed that Maria was still going. I gave her time, But I was like, I guess 130 is fine. But she's a machine. I'm telling you, she just kept going. But hello, Yew. Thank you for coming and checking us out again. I always like it when you show up. So let's see. The way that Maggie was able to save that girl with her empathy and dancing was cool. It was a little odd, but I thought it was actually one of the cooler parts of the episode. That's why I made it the thumbnail for this review, because I liked that. Honestly, there was a nice focus on Maggie this episode, and then that's what they really need to start doing more. They need to find a sister and focus on them, and you can have like side stories going on, but we need like a story. You know how like when you would watch other shows, like let's take Buffy into account here. Like most episodes were about Buffy, but then there would be Xander centric episodes, Willow centric episodes that revolved around Cordelia, around Giles, and they would expand it. It wasn't all just about one person. So that's what they need to do. I think is, yes, the sisterhood is great, and we should have episodes that reflect that and deal with the sisterhood. But I really like the idea of having episodes that really kind of focus more on an individual sister, so we as the viewers can get to know them also on an individual level. So there's that. And hello, another person, Harry. You're also here from Approach the Nerd, so very nice. Thank you so much. So let's see here. No, so that's the thing, right? It's not all magical creatures. It's the charmed ones can't touch other creatures. Other creatures can touch each other. Yes. Let's see. I hope that Abby becomes full villain. That would be interesting. I don't know what's happening with Abby. I think that we're going to probably take a break, at least for a few more episodes from Abby, and then she's going to make a comeback. And I think that that's fine because, like, they're not thinking about Abby. They've never really thought about Abby. Dumb charmed ones. Love Abby. Stupid people. For some reason, I'm subscribed to your channel, but I don't get notifications of your streams. Well, that's interesting. So, if and this is actually something I do mention it in most of my videos, but when you hit the bell, you're gonna see something that pops up that says, for all videos or for like some videos. So you want to hit all videos, and then you need to make sure that your notifications are enabled. Like in your phone, go to your notifications thing and make sure that they're enabled. So that's actually because it's a thing. Like YouTube will be like, oh, if you hit the bell, obviously that means you want to be alerted some of the time. It's just like, no, YouTube, I mean all the time. Otherwise, why am I hitting this thing? It used to be like back in the day. I'm sorry, tangent. It used to be back in the day that if you were subscribed to a channel, you would automatically get notifications. But then as more and more channels were created and it got to a stupid degree now, that's when they created the bell. And then even the bell got watered down. So now you have to tell the bell all of them. So anyway, so make sure that if you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, you hit the bell, and you hit all notifications. Make sure your notifications are turned on. And then if you want to become a channel supporter, hit the bell. Hit the join button. So like, there's a whole lot of stuff. There's like, hit the button is one of my favorite things I've heard from another video. All right, moving on. Let's see. I like this episode. It gave Swan a purpose by her wanting SafeSpace to have a bigger purpose. I agree. And again, they didn't. She should have given it to Swan, or not even given it to Swan. She could still keep it because it was a memento from her time with Julian. But what she should have done is made her the operations manager. Rawr. Anyway. I was so sure Swan could be a magical or something, but I guess she is not. Oh, that's true. She was able to touch Macy. So with her being able to touch Macy, she is either not magical or she is the one. She is the ancient demon who can touch her. More likely that she's just a normal person. I do enjoy how this season the sisters seem more together, even if they can't touch physically. I agree. I agree entirely. Let's see. I love Macy and Mel's sisterhood. They are sisters who cooperate and respect each other. And yes, and they weren't really interacting all that much, and they actually were in this episode like quite a bit, almost like they were listening, the writers, to me and Maria and mostly Maria, I'll say, complain about that. So, and yeah, a bunch more people are showing up from ATN. Hello, and Maria says hi. Wonderful. I love Maria. She's so great. Uh, let's see. I don't like it when people say that all the CW shows feel the same, because it's not true. Like Charmed and Roswell and Nancy Drew have their own vibe and don't feel the same at all, in my opinion. I agree. I mean, they have different vibes. They're obviously different genres. One is aliens, one is mystery detective, the other one is urban fantasy, which is basically what what Charmed falls under, urban fantasy, basically modern day, but with music, or with magic. What am I saying? Music with magic. So those are different genres, but basically, I think what people say when they say that all the CW shows are kind of alike, it's that there's like a protagonist, and there's always a love triangle, and there's always this and that, and there's always like lost siblings. And I mean, there is a thing like basically CW seems to pick up shows that play on a lot of those really fun tropes, and not necessarily that they are the same, but they have a lot of similarities. So the Charmed ones were able to touch the demon's victim this episode and to be possessed by last week's demon. Well, that's true. So I think being able to touch the demon's victim isn't necessarily the same as touching a magical being. This is just a being who has been affected by magic. So I think that that's fine. And they were able to be possessed by demons last week. What I had said about that was that their curse is based on these pre-civilization demons. These same demons resonate with the same energy signature. Thus, they would not be repelled by this power, which means they would be able to get close and affect them and even possess them. So that's that's just my theory on it. That's honestly the only thing that I can think of. Abby's going to be in the next episode. Well, wonderful. I can't wait for her. Again, I don't watch promos. That's actually something that I do, because I talked about this on Kristen's channel last week. When I watch a trailer, a promo, a commercial for a show, then my brain already starts filling in all the blanks, and it makes it less enjoyable for me. For instance, with this episode, I saw the commercial for it because it came on right after the episode ended, and it was, "Oh, Macy, you're inheriting SafeSpace." And I was like, damn it, I wish that I didn't see that, and then I would have been able to see it in the moment while I was watching the episode, and I think I would have enjoyed it more. That's just me, I guess. I know a lot of people are like way up on top of like trailers and like sneaks and all that stuff, and I'm like, I really prefer to be surprised as much as possible if I can be. So yeah, let's see. I think we're almost there. Yes, Swan is the demon overlord. I'm telling you, and the demon overlord can skirt the rules. Is all I'm saying. Yes, at urban fantasy. Urban fantasy is modern day setting with magic. That's essentially what an urban fantasy setting is. Dresden Files is urban fantasy. That's another good example. So there you go. Let's see. I didn't watch the episode as yet, but I can tell Mel was left out. She wasn't. Her storyline is still pretty weak, but also she had a lot of interaction with her sisters this episode, which I think is what I wanted anyway. So I thought it was fine. And Jordan was cute this episode. Good job on picking that up, because he was cute. He had his beanie on. He was looking real cute. Let's see. Nancy Drew has elements of supernatural and magic in it as well. So yeah, well, then there you go. Well, yeah, tone, but also not tone. Tonally, they're even sometimes a lot kind of the same. So it's a certain type of show. Let's see, David. Since the Charmed ones can't touch or be touched by magical creatures, they would, in theory, be safe from physical demonic attacks, right? I would say yes, from everybody except these pre-civilization demons, again, who are now being called by the same energy signature that repels other demons, but probably is bringing them closer. So I would say yes to most demons. Again, it's all a theory. They usually go to her for help. This time Abby is coming to them for help. Okay, well that's good. You can stop spoiling things. I just talked about how I don't like spoilers. Because literally in my brain, I'm already writing that episode. I'm like, oh, well, she's coming to help them, but she's already done the thing with the idol. So her coming to them asking for help is really just a ploy. And she's going to end up backstabbing them and revealing that she's a demon that's going to do all this, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so it's a thing, right? I just want to watch the episode. That's just me. I'm just weird that way. All right, so we just hit 45 minutes. So I think I'm going to call it there. Thank you, everybody who came and checked out this live stream, especially those who came over from Approach the Nerd after Maria was done talking. Now I get to go watch hers, so that'll be fun. So also don't forget to hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, hit all notifications on the bell, hit the join button that's underneath this video, and all of that stuff. So thank you. I've been your host, Aloy. This has been the Turnout. Thanks for showing up. I'll see you guys next week with another Charmed, but we have other videos coming out this week. It's going to be so fun. All right, see you guys later.